So we'll discuss some inyani Mashav Aruach Umorid Hageshem, or perhaps Mashav Aruach Umorid Hagashem. The generally accepted practice in most Sidurim is Mashav Aruach Umorid Hageshem. However, if you look at the new Art Scroll Siddur, they have in parentheses Mashav Aruach Umorid Hagashem. What's the history behind that? According to Rav Mordechai Tenler, Rav Moshe Tenler's son. Rav Moshe Tenler is the son-in-law of the late Rav Moshe Feinstein, right? So he claims that I'm not saying it's not true. He says Rav Moshe's shita was Morid Hagashem, even though most posts can go with Geffen, but so Rav Moshe was the Gadol Hador. He's one of the Poskei Hador. So at least have some mention to his shita. So in the new Art Scroll, they took heed, and you'll see in parentheses, some say, Mashiv Aruach HaMorid HaGeshem. So, different shitas, Rav Soloveitchik, different, you hear from different people what he said. What he said, Geshem or Gashem, and also in some of his shtickles, he says different things, which isn't necessarily a question, because he's not always giving halach l'maisa. But the general Nakuda is whether from Mashav Aruach HaMorid HaGashem, let's say you're ending the unit, is it an independent phrase? Is it a continuation? So that's a discussion we'll get into. But either way, whatever you say, Morid HaGashem, we begin saying it Musaf Shemini Atzeres. And that's all over. In Eretz Yisrael, Chutz La'aretz, everyone begins saying Mashav Aruach Morid HaGeshem on Musaf Shemini Atzeres. Tal U-Matar, Eretz Yisrael begins Zayin Mar Cheshvan. We begin December 4th or 5th. So we have time to discuss how we get our date. And it's an English date, not a Hebrew date. But where does Zayin Mar Cheshvan come from? And in fact, why not begin right away? Okay, so of course they're going to say, well, you can't begin right away because, as we mentioned yesterday, there are three parts to our Shemona Esrei, a Tfilas Chol. There's the Shevach, there's the Bakasha, and there's the Hodah. The praise, request, and thank you. And we only make requests during the week. Okay, so obviously since the Saint Tal U-Matar is in the middle section, which we don't have, it's all granted. So wait in Eretz Yisrael, wait one day because that's it. Shmini Atzeres, and then Friday begin saying it, or in Chutz La'aretz wait until 2 days later. So why not start Tal U-Matar immediately? Why break up the two? So why do we wait to Zayin Mar Cheshvan to begin with? So actually it's a machlokas in the Gemara in Tainis, whether it's Gimel Mar Cheshvan or Zayin Mar Cheshvan. We go with Zayin Mar Cheshvan. So why is it Zayin Mar Cheshvan? So the Gemara explains, because it took we're talking about the Yantav of Sukkot, it's one of the Sholosh Regalim, and there's a mitzvah in our Torah of being Ola Regel. It's Shaila Bizman Hazeh. If there's definitely no Chiyuv, perhaps there's still an Inyan of being Ola Regel, even Bizman Hazeh, but there's no Chiyuv. But in Bizman Beis HaMikdash Kaim, you have a Chiyuv to go to the Beis HaMikdash. So therefore, Klal Yisrael has to come back. So since Jews who came and lived far away, so the way they calculated, those who lived at the far end by Nahar Pras, it takes them 15 days. So they figured out the longest spot you have to go to takes 15 days. So it shouldn't be raining on those, and they have like carriage and buggy and horses or mud. So in order not to get rain on the people who are leaving and coming back, so therefore they said to wait to Zayin Mar Cheshvan, which is interesting to begin with. Why don't we stop asking for rain and 15 days before Pesach's over and give them time to come? How come it's only a one-way street? And also, as well, so let me get this straight. Really, we need rain. Klal Yisrael needs rain, but a minority of Jews have to travel back, and they might get wet, they might get stuck in mud, so therefore I'm not going to ask for rain, because since when do we, of course we care about the Yachid, but not at the expense of Klal Yisrael. If Eretz Yisrael needs rain, So the Bali Musa give an answer, then I'll give you another answer. The Bali Musa say, similar to the cases, a Kohen Gadol, a person who goes to Arei Miklat, he's stuck there until death, or if the Kohen Gadol dies. So the Gemara over there, Chazal talk about that the mother of the Kohen Gadol, used to go around and bake brownies, chocolate chip cookies, melt away, and give them out to the people in Arei Miklat. Why? Because they didn't want them praying that the Kohen Gadol should die, because this way they get out. So the shaila is, like, what do you mean, because of a couple? And let's say, I'm not making a judgment on people in the Arei Miklat. Accidents happen, but because a couple people in the Arei Miklat might pray for his death, we're going to worry about it. And all the other people, Kaisos praying to the Kohen Gadol, the more people not living in the Arei Miklat, they're praying for the health of the... So the Bali Musa says, yeah, but there's a big difference. The people who are in the Arei Miklat, they really mean it. They want him to die because they have immediate benefit. It's nice to have the Kohen Gadol around. Similarly here, the people, you imagine when you're stuck in a storm, you really mean it when you're praying it to stop. When you're traveling stuck. Yisrael needs rain. Okay, who cares? A little more, let's rain. The koach hatfila of someone who means it got greater. So that's what the Bali Musa say. But another answer is as follows. A more halachic answer is that really, why are we waiting the 15 days? It doesn't make sense for a couple of people. We're going to wait. So really, pshat is, and we don't. Masha Baruch Moragashim is this praising God on the rain. It isn't the official rainy season yet. Rainy season doesn't begin until Zayim Mar Cheshvan. So, what's the time period between Shmini Atzeres and Zayim Mar Cheshvan? It's like no man's land. In other words, after Zayim Mar Cheshvan, it's a Siman Bracha. Before Shemini Atzeres, even though there is a shita that says you start in the beginning of Sukkah, we don't because we're sitting in the Sukkah, but it's a Siman Bracha before, when it's a Siman Bracha for not to rain. So this middle time period is no man's land. So therefore, if it was a Siman Kola that it wouldn't rain, then we wouldn't be praying, we wouldn't give them 15 days to get home. It's just the fact that it's okay. If it rains, it's not terrible. If it doesn't rain, it's also okay. We're neutral on it. So if we're neutral, so then for the people who have to get back, we want to encourage people to go. They don't say this, but I'm saying like Rav Moshe writes by Hatzalah. He writes. He was asked whether Hatzalah people could go back after the emergency. Let's say they go to the hospital and drop someone off. So it's not an emergency. So he writes, no, it's okay. Besides the fact the whole sugya about going back, you have to be ready for the next time. But he points out that you don't want to discourage people from going. If he knows he's going to be stuck in the hospital the whole day, and he's not going to get to eat his cholent, then he's not going to want to go. And of course, no one's going to openly say, well, I'm not going to save someone's life, I need my cholent. But bottom line is, if it's going to you want to make it as comfortable as possible. You don't want even the guy hesitating for a minute. Should I pick up the Hatzalah, let someone else get it? So therefore, Rav Moshe says, no, just go back. So, not everyone agrees to Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe is the most mako. You could even drive back yourself. Others say, there are other sheets that you could take a cab back, and others say you can't go back at all. But so Rav Moshe is the most mako, but that's the svara that you don't want him to think for a minute that that he's not going to, that he can't go back. So they point out, so I'm just throwing out maybe the same type of svara here. It's not that they're not going to come back, but why just, if the person, there's a big sacrifice, leaving everything, going to the Beis HaMikdash, and then to come back, and get pouring rain. Someone who's committed is going to go anyway, but someone who's on the fence, like why give them another reason not to go back? So therefore, since it's no man's land, and so therefore it's okay. It's not a simon bracha, and that's why, and that's the pshat. The last 15 days before Pesach, we don't have that because it's simon bracha for it to rain. So if it's simon bracha to rain for Kaisel, we're not going to be worried about a couple of people who are going in. Or you could say, perhaps as well differently, that going home, everyone's going home at the same time. going home meaning from Yerushalayim back to their house. But people aren't leaving the same time going from that. But the bottom line is, if it's a Simon Bracha, so therefore that's why we don't stop 15 days before. So that's the Yisod. Mashav HaRuach we begin right away, as the Rav Soloveitchik has a piece that first we do the Ritzoi. We want to praise God on the ability, and we have Dakaras HaTov to give rain, and then once only Zayim Ar Cheshvan do we actually request for rain. We want people. In fact, the first one actually, Chazal talk about that Zohar, others, that Adam HaRishon really was the first one to daven for rain, and also he davened Mincha. There's a whole, because by Mincha we learn about Stuach HaSadeh, and they quote the pasuk by in the beginning of Bereshit, Siach HaSadeh, that really God waited to create rain until Adam was here, because he needed someone who would appreciate the rain and actually pray for the rain. So I think that's what the whole Shin, they tie it into with the 318 men that Shin Yud about what Avram sent for the war, and Yehush, I think. What's the gematria of Yehush? 317 or something? Does that make sense or not? Yud Aleph Vav. Yes, it's just 317. So that's what they say. Yehush is always Yehush Shalomi Das. It's a Kutzker. Says a Jew never has Yehush. The only time you have is Shalomi Das. You're insane. In other words, so Shin Yud Zayin, you give up. But we're always Shin Yud Ches. We're always realizing we never give up. We always take it to the next step. We pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Siach HaSadeh. So they tie in Adam HaRishon was the first one to mispal for rain, and he was the first one to daven mincha, probably a different mincha like than Yitzchak, just like we daven a different mincha than Yitzchak. So that's what they point out, that he was, that Mashav HaRuach is the Ritzoi, so therefore first we praise God on the ability to give rain, and then later on we begin by saying Tal U-Matar on, either on Zayim Ar Cheshvan or Gimel Ar Cheshvan. In fact, the different reasons given, and the Shaila is, so what about this? So some Rishonim raised the Shaila, what about Bisman Hazeh? There is clearly no Chiyav of Ola Rega. Perhaps there's an Inyan. So what about the halacha of, if the whole reason we're waiting 15 days is for that Nar Pras, but people aren't doing it today, so therefore you should daven right. So therefore those Rishonim say, based on the Gemara, you should pray for rain right away now. So Enachinami, those Rishonim Upatzkin. Many Rishonim say, Bizman Hazeh, you should be beginning saying Tal U-Matar right after Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah. And other Rishonim, the Rambam says no. Even Bizman Hazeh, meaning post Churban Habayis, you still don't Ran and others, you still don't start until Zayim Ar Cheshvan. Why? So either number one, some say like the Ran, because even though it's true, there's no chiyuv, but since people did it, so therefore we still don't want the people to get rained on. Or I think, as others point out, there's another reason the Gemara gives. The Gemara gives another reason that you don't want it to rain because you're still gathering up the fruits and vegetables, and they're going to ruin. I guess if it rains during that time, you're going to ruin. So they have that reason still. If that's the reason, that still applies. So therefore, it's a machlokes rishonim. Bizman hazeh, whether you should lechatchila begin saying the same Tal U-Matar immediately after Sukkot, or do you wait until Zayim? So obviously we pass in Zayim Ar Cheshvan. However, according to some postim, we don't reject the shita outright. When do we rely on the shita? Because normally, if you say, it's like if you leave out Mashav HaRuach HaMored HaGeshem during the rainy season, you have to go back. So too, if it's not a time for rain and you say Mashav HaRuach when you shouldn't, you also have to go back. So the post can say, what happens if you start saying Mashav, let's say in error, you start saying Mashav HaRuach HaGeshem right after Shmini Atzeres, let's say in Eretz Yisrael. So the post can say, so then they say you don't have to go back. But since really, according to many Rishonim, you should be saying it right away. And since, as we said before, it's not a Siman Kola, so therefore many posts can say that you wouldn't have, there is enough nafkamina that during the time of after Sukkot until Zayim Ar Cheshvan, if you made a mistake and said Mashav HaRuach HaMored HaGeshem, you would not have to go back, because according to these Rishonim, post Korban Habayis, one no longer has to wait, because the whole reason of Nahar Pras. Or maybe perhaps one could argue today a different time, based that maybe today with modern technology you don't have to worry. Today you're not taking the horses and you get onto a plane, and even rain usually isn't a danger for the train. So I haven't seen anyone. I'm just throwing it. I haven't seen anyone say it, but maybe I did. I don't remember them saying it. I'm just thinking about it now. So then, Huadin. So maybe you could argue then, for the same reason, today it's not an issue because people aren't really walking and going by horse. So then, according to those Rishonim, that if the reason is because the fruits and vegetables will spoil, then obviously you wait to Zayim Ar-Cheshvan, which we seem to go with. But if the reason is because of the Ola Rego, that they have to get back to the Nahar Pras, so either we don't have them today, or even if we do have them, that maybe because of modern technology, this shouldn't be an issue. So that's what they point out. That's why there's a difference between Mashiv. So there's a fundamental difference between Mashiv Aruach, Morid Agashem, and Tal U-Matar. We do them in two separate parts of the Shemona Esrei. Mashiv Aruach Agashem, that's in the Shabbat section, and therefore it goes there. Tal U-Matar is in the Bakasha section. But besides fundamentally being in two different parts of Shemona Esrei, there's also fundamental differences in terms of when you begin saying them. Mashiv Aruach Agashem, you begin Musaf Shemini Atzeres. Tal U-Matar, you don't begin to say to Zayim Ar-Cheshvan either because the vegetables ruining in the field or because of the Ola Rego. And according to some shitas, which we don't pass like that, they started saying Tal U-Matar, and then the Shaila is Man Hazeh, that we no longer, that we don't have a chi of Ola Rego anymore. So that's the question: since there is an Indian, so some say we wait, and others say b'di'evet, if one said Mashiv Aruach, you don't have to go back. As I pointed out yesterday, Mashiv Aruach, you only have until you have to say it in the second. You say Mashiv Aruach. The Gemara says Maskirin Gvuras Hasha, Maskirin Gvuras Geshamim B'tchias Hamesim. The Mishnah and Brachas and Tainus says we mention Gvuras Geshamim in the Bracha of Tchias Hamesim. So why do we put it? Why is it put in the Bracha of Tchias Hamesim? Ma inyan Geshem Eitzel Tchias Hamesim. So the poskim, the Mefarshim point out, because the Chazal tell us there are three things that God did not give over to a shliach. He didn't give over to a malach to do. He does it directly. Childbirth, rain, and Tchias Hamesim. And they all have to do with life. That's why Mechaya Hamesim, Tchias Hamesim, has to do with life. So therefore, in fact, even though to us, like if you were an editor of a paper and you witnessed a childbirth and you witnessed a Tchias Hamesim of resurrection of the dead, which one would you put on the headlines of your paper, assuming you wanted to keep your job? You obviously put on the Tchias Hamesim. Yet Chazal tell us it's a greater nace that a child's born than Tchias Hamesim, because Tchias Hamesim, the body's there, you're just reviving it. But a birth from a tipa strucha, from nothing, you have a child, that's a greater miracle. So therefore, Chazal says, so why is it in that third bracha? Because since the bracha of rain has to do as well with life, all of them have to do with life, so therefore Chazal instituted a Mashiv Aruach and Morid Agashem in the bracha of Tchias Hamesim, because both rain and Tchias Hamesim bring life. And I think the Gra says something along the lines that even the philosophers, like they discuss what's considered teva, what isn't, but even, again, I don't know what science says about it today, but the Gra says something that even the philosophers during his time agreed that rain didn't make sense out pi teva. Like the concept of rain falling, or maybe when it fell, but he writes that wasn't teva, even them, so therefore B'dafka rain, which is, Tchias HaMesim. Tchias HaMesim isn't something also Al Pi Teva, so also why it was put in the second bracha of Tchias HaMesim. And then Baruch Aleinu, the bracha of Parnasa, because also, you can't live without rain, so therefore that's, that was, especially in an agricultural society, one cannot, you can't live without rain anytime, but that's how people make their parnasa directly related to the rain and the farmland. So that's what the Mefarshim point out. And so if you have to mention Mashav HaRuach in the bracha of Machaya Mesim, and some poskim say, even if you said Baruch Atah Hashem Machaya Mesim, as long as you didn't start the third bracha Atah, you could still insert Machaya Mesim, but there's a Yerushalmi that you can make it up in Shema Kolina. We don't pass in that way. We say, no, either once you say Atah, you got to go back. However, regarding the saying Tal U-Matar, we'll get into Tal U-Matar later, that if one forgets to say the saying Tal U-Matar, so if you said Baruch Atah Hashem Baruch Hashanim, that's a discussion as well, could you put it in right there? But also you have another option, you could fit it into Shema Kolenu, because that's in the Bakasha section. So so Masharuf you can't make up later on, you have to go back right away. But Tal U-Matar, because of its location, what do they say? Location, 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 that's the key. Because it's in the Bakasha section, so therefore you can make it up in the Shema Kolenu. So we'll stop here, and then we'll continue with some more Tal U-Matar, Mashav HaRuach tomorrow. So the Beis Yisrael raises an interesting shaila regarding the saying Tal U-Matar. In Eretz Yisrael, they begin on Zayim Ar Cheshvan to start saying the saying Tal U-Matar. In Chutz La'aretz, they don't begin to December 4th or 5th. So he raises the question. We all know the halacha is, as it's saying with Mashav HaRuach, if one forgets Mashav HaRuach or the saying Tal U-Matar, so they have to repeat. If you remember, if you know for sure you did not say it, and you remember later, you have to repeat the davening. If you're not sure if you said it, so we go with chazaka. So the first 30 days, we assume you're still creating a chazaka habit, therefore you have to go back. After 30 days, if you're not sure, you don't have to go back. So that's the halacha in general. You go back for saying Tal U-Matar if you know you forgot it. So the question is, what about Nashim? What about women? Are they obligated in repeating if a woman davened and left out the saying Tal U-Matar? What's the halacha? So that's what he writes. Nashim shizpalu v'shachlu lomar v'saying Tal U-Matar. Women who davened, they davened shacharis mincha, let's say, and they left out the saying Tal U-Matar, do they have to go back now and repeat Shmoneh Esrei just like a man would? On one hand, you could say the Yesh Lomar Kaven that Tefillah Eino Chov Lahem. Again, it gets into what do you assume a woman is obligated to daven, but Kaven that Tefillah Eino Chov Lahem Uprat Sharov Nashim Shalanu Lo Nagu Lispalo Kol Yom Kemuva B'Magad. He says the minig is like the Magad Avram. Most women do not daven on a regular basis. And Cain, if Avim his Paulo, so since they chose, it was optional. He's assuming we're going with the Magen Avram, that a Moda Ani is enough, based on the Rambam. So therefore, even though they only need a Moda Ani, but they can daven a Shmoneh Esrei, so since they didn't have to daven a Shmoneh Esrei and they forgot to say Tal U-Matar, you peturim milagzo u'lehaspala. So on one hand you'll say, since they didn't have to daven in the first place, and they just volunteered it, so since they volunteered it, we're not going to hold it against them, they don't have to go back. Or perhaps no. Kevin de Isha Mitzpala, since a woman decided on her own, she volunteered herself to daven, therefore Kavalat Machova, she is turning into something mandatory. Sricha Lagzo Litzpala. That when she volunteers to do it, so it's Klar Shavuot Chachova, it's like she's accepted upon herself, and therefore becomes like a chova. That's the whole discussion. The Rambam Ravid, what's the pshat when for the men? For Ma'ariv, Klar Shavuot Chachova. What does that mean? Is it Ma'ariv is now the same as Shacharis and Mincha? Oh no, they're still fundamentally different, except that I'm this forced to volunteer. But either way, that's the Shiloh of the Beis Yisrael. If a woman forgot Tal U-Matar, do I say she doesn't have to go back since she didn't have to daven? Or do I say since she does daven, it's like she's taking it upon herself, and therefore she does? The Hisik, and he concludes, Shekivin Shihispalu Kibolam Kachoba, that since she's davening, she's accepted upon herself as mandatory. But okay, God Nashim and Mispalu Batar will Hiro Geshem Srichin Lagzor Kanuso Shetikno Kazav and told Srichin. So therefore he concludes that women are no different than men in this regard. That if a woman is davening Shacharis and forgets saying Tal U-Matar, she'd have to go back just like a man. A similar Shaila, nothing to do with Tal U-Matar, but the concept of a woman, the nature of the woman's obligation in Tefillah. Rabbi Yashav in his Sefer on Brachas, in the beginning of the fourth parak, Chavav Beis, he writes as follows, or they say, Shamati Rabbeinu Shita, we heard in the name of Rabbi Yashav, Isha Shlo Ispala Mincha, a woman who did not daven Mincha, Yesh Lidon de Im Yachol Ispala Tfilas Tashlumin B'Mayrav. In other words, there's a general rule of Tashlumin that we, based on the Gemara in Brachas, that one is, if one, let's say, miss Shacharis, you get to daven 2 Shmona Esrei at Mincha, or you miss Mincha, you get 2 Shmona Esrei at Mayrav. The Gemara has a discussion, Mayrav to Shacharis, we assume that as well. So, the din of Tashlumin is, we make up our Tefillah and we paskin, the discussion in the Rishonim. We paskin, you only have the next Tefillah. If you miss Shacharis, you have to make it up a Mincha. Mincha, you must make up a Mayrav, Mayrav and Shacharis. So, Rabbi Yosef Shiloh was, what happens to a woman? Let's assume for our purposes, Shacharis and Mincha, again, the different shitas. The Mishnah says, Nashim Chayavas B'Tfilah. Women are definitely obligated in davening. The Shiloh is how much. So, some say Distamodani, some say 1 Shmona Esrei, some say Shacharis and Mincha, some say Shacharis Mincha. Let's assume it's Shacharis and Mincha. So, Shacharis and Mincha, so let's assume a woman who normally davens Mincha, she forgot to daven Mincha, and now it's nighttime. And she doesn't usually daven Mayrav. Because she davened 2 Shmona Esrei of Mayrav. So Tfilas Tashlumin Sheiches Rak Bizman Tfilah. Vo Be'isha Eina Chayeves B'Tfilas Aravis. Vo Chashiv B'Shvilas Zman Tfilah. In other words, you have to daven. We have a halacha regarding Tashlumin that you always have to daven the Chova first, and then you daven the makeup. So if Mayrav, she doesn't daven, so, and you have to always have to daven the next tefillah. So perhaps that since Mayrav she never davens, so therefore she could do a tashlumin at Shacharis the next morning. So that's what he raises. And he quotes the Mishnah Mashakasav, and then the Mishnah Brewer writes, B'she'ein shows Gozeh, he writes a different scenario, but he writes, let's say a case where a woman, she doesn't have enough time to daven mincha and light Shabbos candles. So the Mishnah Berurah writes, Yoter Tov she'titzpal arav shtayim. He says if a woman can't help it, she should not daven mincha because she doesn't have a choice, she doesn't have enough time, and she should daven Mayrav twice. So we see, according to the Mishnah Berurah, that there is a woman can do tashlumin at Mayrav, and even though she's not chayav. So that seems to be a machlokas, Rabbi Yashav and the Mishnah Berurah, in terms of if a woman forgets to daven mincha, could she make it up at Mayrav? So how do Keitza l'maisa din be'isha? So halach l'maisa, what do we do? So ani arati, so he writes, Rabbi Yosef says, the misvara ein la tashlumin. Based on my lamdis, I don't think there is. Since to her, Arvis is a rishus, therefore it's not shy. You can't have tashlumin by a tefillah. You need a tefillah schova. Since Arvis is not a tefillah schova, therefore you can't have tashlumin. That's what I think. However, achein achronim will kasvu kain. However, the later achronim disagree with me, and therefore uladina lamaisa yesh lasos ka mishnah brura sheyesh la tashlumin kamara v'chein gam haminig shehem mashlimus. And therefore, so Rabbi Yosha concludes, therefore, Al pi lamdis, I say no, but the minig seems to be yes. If a woman forgot to daven mincha, she's permitted to daven two shmona esreis at Ma'ariv. And then he just asks, what about a woman who didn't daven Ma'ariv? She usually, let's say a woman who usually davens Ma'ariv and she didn't, im yesh la tashlumin v'shachris. He says so too, chen as well. He writes, as well, the woman does have tashlumin. That's the conclusion. So the Beis Yisrael writes in our first case, a woman is treated the same as a man if she forgets Tal U-Matar, since when she volunteers it becomes like a chova, and therefore she has to repeat Shemona Esrei without Tal U-Matar. And similarly, that's what the Mishnah Berurah writes, in the way we paskin, a woman who forgets to daven mincha, she could still do tashlumin amayra, even though Arvis is rishus, but again, the same concept. When she's a woman who davens ma'ariv, we consider it kachova etzla. So in Eretz Yisrael, last week, they began saying Tal U-Matar levracha. As we all know, in Chutz La'aretz, we don't begin saying it for a while, to December 4th, December 5th, depending whether it's a leap year or not. But Eretz Yisrael, they begin praying for rain on Zayin Mar Cheshvan. It's actually a dispute in the Gemara in Tainis, whether it's Gimel Mar Cheshvan or Zayin Mar Cheshvan, and we paskin Zayin Mar Cheshvan. And the question is, why Zayin Mar Cheshvan? So, because we all know, we begin saying Mashiv Aruach Amorid HaGeshem, we begin saying on Musaf Shmini Atzeres. So why the disconnect between Mashiv Aruach Umorid HaGeshem and the saying Tal U-Matar? Why not begin both at the same time? Okay, so you'll tell me, because you can't. What do you mean you can't? Because since last I checked, Shmini Atzeres is a Yantif, we have a Yantiv Dika Shmona Esrei. So when we daven b'chol, we have three sections. Well, we have three sections to our Shmona Esrei whenever we daven. The first section always is the same. We have Shevach, we praise Hashem, and the last section is always Hodah, we say thank you. The issue is, what about the middle section? So on Chol we have Bakashas, the whole middle section we make requests. On Yantiv and Shabbos, on the middle blessings about Yantiv or Shabbos, it's in Yani Diyoma. So, therefore, on Yantiv, there is no Bakasha section, and since we're saying Tal U-Matar is in the Bakasha section, you can't say it. So it's a technical issue. You should begin Tal U-Matar right away. You can? Okay, so right after Yantiv. And in Israel, it would be the next day, because Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah is on the same day, so it'll be Thursday this year. Friday morning, right after the Yantiv of Sukkot, they would begin Tal U-Matar. So why wait to Zayin Mar Cheshvan when you could do it, right away? So number one, the fact that in two parts of Shmona Esrei is because of two different things. We begin Mashiv Baruch HaGashem. Why is it in the second? Why is it put in the second bracha with Mechaya HaMeisim? That's what Chazal tell us, that there are certain things that God does directly. He doesn't give over to a malach, to a shliach. And the three things are rain, Tchias HaMeisim, and childbirth. They all have to do with life. They're all Mechaya HaMeisim, because without rain, you're not going to have any life. In fact, does the Bali Musa tell us that even though childbirth is a greater miracle than Tchiyas HaMesim. Because by Tchiyas HaMesim, the body's there, you just have to resurrect it. But by childbirth, from a putrid drop comes a human being, what a miracle. But if you were an editor of a newspaper and someone put on the headlines, child born today, you'd get fired. But if you put, wow, resurrection of the dead, you'd sell a lot of papers. Because, as Chazal tell us, the only difference between, the Ramban tells us, the only difference between Teva, nature, and miraculous is one happens all the time, and one happens once in a while. So we're used to childbirth. So therefore to us, like, big deal. But really, B'Yisodo, it's a bigger miracle than Tchiyas HaMesim. So all those things have to do with saving life. Rain you can't live without, and childbirth and Tchiyas HaMesim are all about life. That's why it's put in the second bracha of Shemona Esrei. And the Tal U-Matar is put in the bracha Baruch Aleinu. So there's two different points. Masha Baruch Umorid HaGeshem Umorid HaGoshem. That you're praising God on the ability to give rain. So that goes in the Shevach section. You're praising God. He has the ability to bring rain onto the world. But when the Tal U-Matar is the section we're actually requesting the rain. So Rav Selevan gets a whole shtickle why first you should begin first with the Ritzay Hamayim. First you start asking for it before we actually want it. But we ask for it we start praising God we're not asking for rain yet. That's the whole discussion. It was one opinion you start saying it on the first day of Sukkot, but the point is you don't want rain on Sukkot. So the bottom line is we praise God on the power He has the power of giving rain. But we don't actually start asking rain until Zayim Mar Cheshvan. So why the gap? So the Gemara tells us in Tainus is because it talked about, I think it's 15 days to go to the farthest place on the Har Pras, because the Jews were Ola Regel and now they were coming home. So imagine it was before the time of planes and cars. And they didn't have pavement, it was muddy roads, there was camels, there was horses. It was a very big pain to travel back in the mud and all that. It was very difficult. You didn't want to punish the people who came in to do the mitzvah or regel, so we didn't ask for rain until they got back, and Chazal figured out, based on their cheshbon, that's how long it takes, and therefore that's why we wait to Zayim Ar Cheshvan. So the question is, so what are we saying? Really, we should want rain right away. Really, we need rain in Eretz Yisrael right away. But you know what? We're concerned about some people who are going to be traveling and get mud on their clothes, and they're going to have a more difficult travel back. So we should ask for rain for Klal Yisrael. Does that make any sense? So I'll give one answer from the Bali Musar, and then I'll give one more of a halachic answer. The Bali Musar explained, in another context, we have a similar idea that when someone kills someone b'shogeg, the Gemara in Makkah, you go to an Arei Miklat, so you're there until the Kohen Gadol dies. So therefore it says the Kohen Gadol's wife's mother used to make chocolate chip cookies, brownies, melt the way she used to make the good stuff and give it out to the residents. Why? Because they were concerned that they're going to pray for the death of my husband, son, whoever it is, because they want to get out of here. So therefore, they gave them the good stuff. So what's the pshat? So you're telling me because a couple of people are praying for the death of the Kohen Gadol, we're worried about them more than everyone else? So the answer is, again, this is what the Bali Musar say is, when people are praying for the Kohen Gadol to be good, how much do they really mean it? Okay, of course we want to go, but the people want to get out of the Arei Miklat, they'll have a lot more kavanah. Similarly, how much do we mean it? Okay, Tal U-Matar, Eretz Yisrael needs rain, okay, that's one level, but if I'm traveling and it's muddy and my kavanah, my tefillah is going to be a lot greater, and therefore that's why we're concerned. That's the Bali Musar, which is a nice, nice mustahaskil into meaning what we're davening. But a more halachic level is they want to say that as follows. And of course, a nice Jewish answer. We'll start with another question. So what do we do? So we give them 2 weeks to get home, and we don't start praying for rain for Zayir Mar Cheshvan. Yet, if I notice, we don't stop 2 weeks before Pesach to give them an opportunity to come to Yerushalayim. If we're worried about the Ola Regel going home, so how come we're not worried about them coming? You hear the kasha? Mm-hmm. So perhaps one could say, well, maybe people come at different times, and therefore going back, everyone's leaving together. That is more of a pragmatic, and it doesn't really deal with the fundamental kasha. So therefore the Mefarshim say, because it goes like this, really, the time between Shmini Atzeres and Zayim Mar Cheshvan is like no man's land. In other words, it's not a siman kola if it doesn't rain, and it's not a it's not a siman bracha, it's not a siman kola. It's like the rain won't hurt us and it won't kill us. Like either way, we're fine. We can deal with it. It can rain, not rain. Either way is okay. After Zayim Mar Cheshvan, if it doesn't rain, it's a siman kola, and that goes straight until Pesach. We need the rain, and if it doesn't rain, it's a problem. So therefore, 2 weeks before Pesach begins, it's still a time, it's a zman for the rain. If it doesn't rain, it's a siman kola, so we're not going to worry about the minority of people who are traveling on the roads. We care about Klal Yisrael, and therefore there is no halach like that. You'll suffer, you'll go through muddy roads, and you'll get to Yerushalayim, you get to Israel. Because if it's the zman of rain, there's nothing to do. But the first 2 weeks isn't really, the zman doesn't really begin into Zayim Mar Cheshvan. It was just a pragmatic thing. It also took 2 weeks for them to get back as well. So since it's no man's land, then it's okay to pray. So that's why we have the 2 week period we could still hold off on, because it's not really the zman yet. But once the zman starts, we're not going to be worried about people traveling in the mud and getting a little wet. So that's what the Mefarshim point out. So we start. So that's why we start Zayim Mar Cheshvan. And so some might say, so what about Bizman Hazeh? We no longer have a mitzvah of Ola Regel. Bizman Hazeh meaning post Churban Habayis. So maybe Zayim Mar Cheshvan shouldn't apply anymore. In other words, based on the two reasons we'll see in a second. So that's it. So you're right. It's a major machlokas. So many Rishonim say, Bizman Hazeh or post Churban Habayis, you should start saying Tal U-Matar right away. There's no reason to wait. The other Rishonim say no, we wait anyway. Why do we wait anyway? So two possibilities. One is the Gemara gives another reason why we wait to Zayim Mar Cheshvan. Because the Gemara says if it rained, it would ruin the different crops on the ground. There's another pragmatic, so we don't want it to rain before. So that's why there's no nafkamina. Even it's irrelevant to the Churban Habayis. There's a harvest reason why not. There's a physical reason for the ground. It's not good for the crops, and therefore, if that's true, Churban and no Churban, you still don't want it to rain until Zayir Mar Cheshvan. Or the Ran writes in Inachinami, even though there's no chi of Ola Regel, but the one he claims the practice was immediately after the Churban, many Jews traveled anyway. And even though there's no chiyah, but there's an Indian to go to the Ola Regel, even the Ran said even Bizman during his time, and therefore that's why the meaning is we keep Zayir Mar Cheshvan, either because the crops are going to ruin in the field, or because the Ran's saying there's still an Indian to go, we still want to encourage Jews to go to the Ola Regel, so even though there's no chiyuv, but there's definitely a kiyum, and therefore that's why we leave Zayim Mar Cheshvan. So my nafkamina l'halacha, there's a major nafkamina based on these Rishonim is, let's say in Eretz Yisrael, so the halacha is in general, if one during the time when you're supposed to say the same Tal U-Matar. So if you don't say V'sein Tal U-Matar, let's say you said V'sein Bracha instead of V'sein Tal U-Matar, the halacha is you have to repeat, you remember when you finish, you have to repeat Shemona Esrei. If you remember in the middle of the Bakasha section, you could insert it in Shema Koleinu. And we'll see if you get to, we'll get into it more next time. If you get to Shema Koleinu, what do you do? But I'll just give you the halacha. If you get past Shema Koleinu, you go back to Baruch Aleinu. So either way, that's the halacha. So what happens if before Zayim Mar Cheshvan you said V'sein Tal U-Matar instead of V'sein Bracha? So normally, if you do it during the other time of the year, like let's say in the summer, you'd have to repeat. It's the wrong Shemona Esrei. So some poskim say during the time between Shmini Atzeres and Zayim Mar Cheshvan, if you mistakenly said V'sein Tal U-Matar, you don't have to go back. Why? Because if you ask for rain when rain's in Siman Cholos, then you have to go back. But as we said, this is really no man's land. It's not really a Siman Bracha, it's not a Siman Cholos. Since according to some Rishonim, this is the Zman for rain. This even is the Zman. So even though L'chatchila, we don't go with this opinion, we don't start saying V'sein Tal U-Matar until Zayim Mar Cheshvan, but B'di'evid there are poskim who say that if B'di'evid you said V'sein Tal U-Matar, you would not have to go back. So the sheet isn't rejected completely. We do accept it that if you made the mistake and you did V'sein Tal U-Matar, you would have to go back. That's what the poskim point out. So I'll just give you a little intro to our next year coming up. Is this to throw out the question of it, which I started touching on, is in terms of the issue of, let's say you went past Shema Koleinu. So the halacha is the Machaber, based on the Rambam, says that we go back to Baruch Aleinu. But Tosfos and other Rishonim say you go back to Shema Koleinu, which makes sense to me. Like what? See, everyone agrees that if you miss it in Baruch Aleinu, you make it up in Shema Koleinu. So once you you say you have to go back. Why would I go back and get involved in potential bracha levatolah? Why would I go back to Baruch Aleinu? Tosfos seems to be very cogent. Go back to Shema Koleinu. So what's in the Kudus HaMachlok is there, and similarly that will tie in as well to the issue of whether if you finish Mevarach Hashanim but didn't start the Kabbalah Shofar, can I insert V'sein Tal U-Matar there? Perhaps it'll be a similar Shaila Mashav Aruach. If I said Machaya HaMeisim but didn't start Atah, would I be able? We'll tie into that. So we'll have to go into next time. A major machlok is Rambam and the Tosfos, and a big chiddush of Rav Chaim in the Rambam explaining what's this lumdus here of. We can make it up in Shema Koleinu, but once we pass Shema Koleinu, what's the sheet that Tosfos? It touches on a fundamental issue of what part does the V'sein Tal U-Matar play in the Shemona Esrei, and it really touches on Mashav Aruach as well as some other Hosafos.